do quickly. Welcome, first of all. How many of you are here for the very first time?
Brian?
Great. All right. Boy, how do I introduce it? I can perhaps give you a little bit of my own personal story, and through that you'll get a little bit of a flavor of what this place is. My wife and I married about 25, 26 years ago. We were living in Yerushalayim together in various places, various neighborhoods. And I guess it was primarily my wife who had this very strong urge and commitment to be part of building a new community. We were living in Har Nof, which was heavily Anglo-Saxon. I was learning in a kollel, as I had been for the previous 10 years of my life after I finished university in the United States. Came over to Israel, and it was very clear to her that this was not really what we had come here for, to be living in some suburban outcropping of Jerusalem and Cement City. She grew up herself in Manhattan, and so we heard about a group of Israeli Balei Tshuva who were looking for a place where they would settle and establish a community. It wasn't specifically a question of whether it be in Judea or whether it be in the Galil or whether it be in the Negev. The group was looking for a place to settle both in order to create a new place in Israel that would be populated, but also, and very strongly, because we all shared a sense of really not being identified with any of the particular communities that we were living among. Most of these Israelis had become religious during the course of their lives and didn't really feel wholly identified with the Rav Kook community or with the Breslov community or with the Chabad community. They really felt their primary identity had to do with something new that was happening in Israel, and that was Israelis who were becoming reconnected with their Judaism. So that was kind of a grounding for what Barayin would become. In addition to the fact that there was a commitment among a number of people to be involved in agriculture and homesteading, which I can't say was really my thing, but the first aspect of things really interested me. The other aspect of things, I have to say, was that I just totally fell in love with the place as a place. And I came here the first time and stood out. I don't know if you guys went out to the spring over the hill, and there's some beautiful springs around here. The one that's nearby is one which the archaeologists say was probably dug out in the Second Temple period. And I just remember the afternoons standing out there on that hillside and looking over at this hilltop, which was totally empty at that time. There was nothing here, and just completely falling in love with the place just as a place. And had this crazy thing. It was much like a love affair, just like driven, like coming out here all the time, like driving crazy roads, all kinds of routes that we then had to drive through, dangerous places, all kinds of things, just to be here. We were sleeping on people's floors. When finally we got like caravans out here, and we had a tent, and there were 6 families up here at the top of the hill. At the beginning, we were among them. That was 19 years ago. And the community has since changed a lot. It's become I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. It's really like a very eclectic kind of a community, a collection of people with different paths in their avodat Hashem. People are very serious and very committed in their spiritual lives. And that's something that remains for me to be a very central connecting point between me and the people here. So that's like very nutshell. Why don't you ask some questions? Yeah.
How many people live in Beit?
Nowadays, we're I think somewhere around 140 families, which means probably close to 1,000 people. Yeah.
How do people make a living?
How do people make a living? Various things. It's mostly like 3 professions. There are educators, there's people who do computer work, there's artists, there's a a couple of farmers, some builders, you know, various things. Yeah.
Is Bat Ayin one yeshiva or are there several?
There's only one Beit Ayin.
Okay, yeah, it sounded like there were a few different places out here.
Well, Gush Etzion is a group of villages, and even like something of a city. Efrat, Alon Shvut, Kfar Etzion, Neve Daniel. I think there's 16 towns and villages around Gush Etzion. But Beit Ayin is one of them.
And it's one yeshiva in one place.
Well, there's a yeshiva in Beit Ayin, which is a place where people learn, and there's the yeshuv, which is where people live.
Yeah. And not everybody that lives is a part of the yeshiva.
Right.
Okay.
Hello.
Is there any sort of agricultural community associated with Beit Ayin? Do you guys do anything with the lands around here?
Yeah. There's like I said, there's a couple of farmers who I don't think any of them does it as their only or even primary income. There are 3 people who grow organic grapes of a very high quality, which are used for some really fine wines that are produced at the corner. Maybe when you drive by there's a winery not far from here. There are 2 people who have large olive orchards, and some other stuff that goes on.
Where the name Beit Ayin?
How the name Beit Ayin arrived?
Yeah.
That's a good question. It's a combination, I would say, of 3 different things. And I think the person who it came to largely because of 2 things. One is that the first book of Chassidut, the first Hasidic book that was written in the land of Israel, was called Beit Ayin. It was written in Sfat. So that's one thing, because almost everyone here has some connection with inner spirituality, and that has traveled through Chassidut primarily in the last 2 or 3 generations. That's one thing. The other thing is that there's a beautiful spring nearby, and so it's like with the daughter of a spring. And the third thing has to do with the nature of how we see. But that would be actually somewhat complicated to get into. But it has to do with seeing things well, having a good eye, looking at things like positively.